It's Thursday, December 13th, 2012. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geek Nights. Tonight, off the radar geeks and normal people. Let's do this. So I'm sitting in my office doing my thing. I got Balsamiq open and I'm like fucking around with an interface I'm working on for a thing that we're going to do. And one of my coworkers is like, what the fuck is that smell? And he starts walking around like he smells something really bad.
It the bamboo?
There was no bamboo.
No bamboo in your office? Are you sure?
I am so sure
This is
there's no bamboo.
This is sounding like there's a bamboo in the future.
So,
I have a feeling in about 30 seconds you're going to say there was a bamboo.
So, I ignore it because I'm working on stuff, and I put my headphones back on and do
Did
my
you smell
business.
something?
I did not, but I did not go to investigate.
So I go
So
to
time
investigate.
goes on,
There's
and
8
eventually
people.
I go out to get lunch, and I come back, and as I walk into the office, I'm like, man, our office smells like shit.
Well, you didn't smell the smell when you were leaving for lunch, only when you came back?
Well, I guess I had been either I had been immured in it and used to it, or it did not exist in quantity yet. So
or maybe someone pulled it out, like someone spilled the bamboo.
So I can't, there's no bamboo. So I came back into the, basically this escalates over time, one by one, people in the office. You know, you have like a bunch of people in a room and it's like 3 people have a conversation. And then 20 minutes later, some guy says something related to
Was
that.
it someone
no
with
idea.
BO, and when you left for lunch, they weren't there, but when you came back for lunch, they were there?
Nah, nothing like that. So the smell is pretty bad at this point. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to find this because it's starting to remind me of the smell of a mouse that has died in a wall. So I start going around trying to narrow
Did
it down.
smell like a bamboo?
It's not in the server room where I had just fucked with the HVAC system. I wonder if maybe I'd ended up killing a mouse in the ceiling with that, but no, that was all fine.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. I already know the outcome of the story. I already the fullness of this happened today. I got my answer. There was
bamboo.
There is a time of worry followed by a time of discovery and then a time of gnosis. So I'm walking around, I'm like, what the fuck? And I couldn't find it. It seemed stronger near the closet. I'm like, aha! But then I open the closet, it's not that strong in there. So I kind of back off and, I got work to do. And so I see people IMing me, so I go back to my desk and work a little bit. And another coworker comes back from lunch. He's like, what the fuck is that smell? So he starts going around looking for it. We can't find it. So...
Call the building guy.
Yeah, the problem is, I would suspect that it was something that was like we could find it in our office, and the building wouldn't be happy if we're like, what the fuck is this smell? And then the building guy comes, he's like, it's this garbage in your garbage can. So finally, one of my coworkers pulls out this cheese and he guts it to like eat it or something.
What?
And suddenly the smell gets 1,000 times worse.
What was he doing with the cheese?
So
where
we're
did
like-
he pull it out from? A drawer?
So we're like, how long have you had that cheese in the office? And he's like, I don't think this cheese is the source of the dead mouse smell. And further investigation turned out that it was, in fact, the source of the dead mouse
What
smell.
the fuck was he doing with this cheese, and why did he not smell it?
It is a cheese that smells, as far as I can tell, like dead mouse by design.
Why was it not in the refrigerator or something?
Well, it was being transported. Like it was in a bag in like a cool pack or something. I don't know. It smelled like a fucking dead mouse. And he's like, all right, guys, I'll take it home with me. So it won't bother
How about
you
you
anymore.
leave now with that cheese and don't bring any more here ever again?
So then he's like, yeah, I'm taking the train to Connecticut. Maybe I shouldn't bring this with me.
No, really?
I'm gonna
The
leave it in the
conductor will get
fridge.
hella pissed.
So I'm glad that I do not engage in the social contract of the kitchen of my office. I do not use the kitchen. I do not use the fridge, the cooking implements, anything.
I fought to get a separate mini fridge just for the tech people, and we have one now. And
I fought for that for years at my old company, and they wouldn't give it to
so
me.
now we don't have to deal with the fucking disgusting fridge that all these other people use.
Why is every fridge like that so disgusting? At one point, I went in there like a month ago.
Because people get a food, they put it leftover in there, and they fucking leave it in there, and they never go get it.
There was a thing
Or they
of,
buy a bamboo cheese,
there
and
was
they
a thing
put
of
it in the
frozen spinach in the freezer that was there since before I got to the company.
It's still there?
Yeah, it's still
Who
there.
bought it, when, and why?
So I pulled it out one day. I was like, who the fuck bought this spinach? And nobody in the entire company knows.
Nobody would own up to it.
Yeah.
That someone did.
Either it's someone who no longer works for
Just
us.
throw it out the fucking window. Be like, boom.
So I'm thinking about...
And then see who goes, no, my spinach. I gotcha.
So I'm thinking I gotta do something with the spice bomb because it would be great if that spinach was like some other company's thing. Like some guy in an office next door found this spinach. He's like, what the fuck? And he just put it in our office. I want to take the spice bomb and like put it in someone's freezer. It has to be someone who doesn't listen to Geek Nights.
You do whatever you want with that spice
I
bomb.
still gotta do something with the spice bomb.
Put it on someone's porch and set it on fire.
If I hadn't
in a
talked about
brown
it so
paper
much
bag.
already, I was gonna leave it at Scott Johnson's house after the party because then
You
after
brought it there?
No. But imagine that, you know, he has this huge party, it ends, and he's cleaning up, and he's like, it really smells like spice. And then he finds the spice bomb.
You
What-
should
what would
move out
think?
of you should move out of here and just leave it behind.
What would you think if you were like cleaning up your apartment one day
I'm not gonna leave it here forever.
and like, I don't know, in your comics, like at the bottom of your comic shelf, like behind some comics, there was just a spice bomb.
There was an EGM.
I have not found an EGM in this apartment yet.
Oh, that's interesting.
Just saying.
That's interesting.
Just saying.
That's
Okay, enough inside jokes. You got any news? It's Thursday after all. It's the
Your
lounge.
mom.
Lounge.
Mom.
Lounge.
Google Maps for iPhone came out today. Hooray.
Oh, wait, so iPhones actually have a real mapping application now.
Actually, you know, there were a whole bunch of them and they were all adequate. But now the new Google Maps for iPhone is, if you were curious, better than every other map on any mobile device ever used ever. Except no biking directions.
See, the thing is,
it has only one flaw.
I suspect that is partly driven by the fact that you had a pretty slow, crappy GPS on your previous phone. Because I remember one time we were out and we both opened up our phones and I realized that your phone takes like a full minute to find its GPS.
No, it doesn't.
sync.
It's apparently that's entirely software based because some programs the GPS goes like and the new Google Maps the GPS goes like bam. So it's not anything to do with the hardware. It's the software is shitty.
Yeah, I'm saying my old Google Maps is bam. Always has been.
Well, the one I have now is bam. And the only problem is no biking directions.
Bam!
Which is the only flaw, which is something that most people don't give a shit about, but I do.
It actually matters a lot.
But in all other ways, it is a perfect map thingy.
Someone on Slashdot was like, Google really should have waited on this because this was actually one thing that an Android phone did way better aside from not being extra proprietary. And now there's no longer that advantage. I think there were at least one or two people, not that that matters, you know, 1 or 2 out of how many millions, who were like, you know what? I care about maps more than I care about iPhone.
Well, I saw really interesting that if you do that, you buy a GPS or thing, right? They still make those.
Those things suck ass.
You
They're-
can get not if you buy this ultra high end one.
No, they still suck ass. You know why? Those things are not useful for the kinds of things I use my phone GPS for. Like, I'm in a random neighborhood in the city and I want to figure out what restaurant's nearby.
Oh, yeah, they don't do that.
Or get a biking direction from like the Bowery to a weird place in Brooklyn or Jersey.
Yeah, they don't do that.
Those
we
things are-
should make a bike specific thing.
Yes, we should, because I want nothing more than a
Like
mount.
you attach.
Actually, I was looking. I'm thinking about getting a mount so I can mount my phone like a little dash on my bike.
I've seen those.
You know what? The reason I want it is that one, I'm playing Ingress more and more, and I have to be able to look at the screen while I'm biking to find the portals and fuck people's shit up. And two, when I bike a very long distance, like way outside of New York City, I kind of need the navigation. And I've more than once dropped my phone if I'm trying to hold it in my hand while I'm biking at speed on
I
a
have
road.
never done that. Never dropped the phone.
Nah.
Anyway,
So, in the news, I guess the lounge, I wanted to link to this thing. It's a bunch of pictures from the subway. And when I say the subway, I mean the new line they're making in the 7
why
train.
don't you just already become like the full train nerd and go hang out with those train guys?
See, here's the thing. I
the
am
model.
super into... I mean, you remember in Beacon, like, I did all that research and learned all about that abandoned
Why
train
don't you just
line.
go full on?
In fact, I remember one time you were trying to argue with me that line, that third track next to the train station with that abandoned platform did not, in fact, connect to the old line that goes to Danbury. And I did a lot of research to prove you wrong. I, for some reason, just got really into that. I found all those old stations. I can't go full train nerd now because as much as I like the tracks and as much as I like the routes, I don't give a shit about the actual trains. I just don't care. And I would be a pariah in that community. But this is great. This is pictures of the subway. And it's pictures of the subway that they're making now. So it looks the same as the normal subways. Like it's the inside of a subway tunnel. but it's before they turned on the piss sprayers and the rat generators. There's no grime. It's so weird to see what the New York City subway would look like if it had no grime, that I'm almost dumbfounded by these pictures.
Okay.
So hopefully by summer of 2014, now that we don't go to the New York Comic Con anymore, we'll be able to take the 7 train to the Javits that we'll probably never enter again for the rest of our lives. But anyway, in the lounge, it's Things of the Day in the Geek Nights Lounge on Thursday.
So, there's a lot of old DOS games out in the world, right? And the thing with old DOS games is that pretty much you can't get an old DOS computer.
DOSBox.
Yeah, but DOSBox, while very good, is not perfect.
Most of the problems I've found with DOSBox come from the fact that very few people left on Earth know how DOS works.
True.
I mean, I know how to get the driver shit sorted out if I get a weird game.
Like, even if I install FreeDOS and I somehow find a working 486, it's not easy to get a game running on there. So, what do? Well, someone wrote this thing that is actually somewhat of a better solution than anything I've seen. And what this is, it's called Emscripten, right?
Ah.
You might know that JavaScript is a subset of ENScript or ECMAScript or whatever it's called, right? So what this thing does is it takes what is known as LLVM bitcode and converts it to JavaScript. So if you have a program written in C or C++, you can compile it using LLVM GCC or Clang, which will output a binary which it runs in the LLVM. If you don't know what that is, don't worry about it. All you have to know, if you know what that means, you're going to be like, oh. If you don't know what that means, you're going to be like, oh. All it means is if you have the C code for anything, you can compile it, get a file, run that file through this Emscripten thing, and it will output a JavaScript. And then you can get that program to run in a box on a web page. So here is an example. If you go to play-dune.com/Harkonnen, it's Dune 2 in a box on a web page exactly as it was on MS-DOS, 100% identical with everything working. Audio works, graphics work, it might as well be fucking DOS. There it is. The first RTS that there ever was, as far as most people know. Sort of the same way that Astro Boy was the first anime. This is the first RTS. So for historical reasons, check it out. And if you have this C code to any old-ass programs that no one can fucking run, you should try to compile that shit with a modern compiler and then try to run it through the Emscripten and make a little web page so people can use it, because that'd be awesome.
Not too shabby.
Not shabby at all.
So, in the spirit of linking to YouTube channels that are hilarious, there is a new YouTube channel. This is my thing of the day.
Great.
It is Meeperfish. And the headlining video is this little thing of Pikachu versus Trubbish. I don't know if
Trubbish a real Pokemon?
I don't know if Trubbish is a real Pokemon or not, because
I'm looking it up.
I really only know the OG.
I'm looking it up.
Really don't care about Pokemon beyond that, except Bidoof.
I'm loading up the Bulbapedia
and
the Cerebi.
Bibarel. Mostly Bidoof.
Trubbish. Real Pokemon.
Oh my god. Okay, then this video is the truth.
Number 568, Poison types. Has abilities, Stench. If the Pokemon makes physical contact with the opponent, there is a chance the opponent flinches. Sticky Hold. The Pokemon's item cannot be taken. Hidden ability available. Aftermath. The foe that dealt the final hit loses a quarter of its maximum HP if the move made physical contact. Classification. Trash bag Pokemon.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, so this channel is pretty funny. And
it evolves.
She has a series. What's it evolve into?
Garbodor.
Are you sure this isn't a joke?
I'm sure. Stench, weak armor, aftermath. It's a trash heap Pokemon.
Oh my god.
Look at this motherfucker Garbodor.
I guess it's a modern sort of coughing wheezing.
569.
Wheezing.
No, these are poison types. I guess those are poison types too. I don't fucking know.
But anyway, she has a series called Adventures in Food Service and another series called Adventures in Retail. And they're just cute, somewhat full of truth, and somewhat hilarious.
Garbodor and Trubbish. Good God. If anyone six Trubbish, you're going to lose.
I can't win.
I'll just set your fucking Trubbish on fire. That's it.
And in the meta moment, the Geek Nights Book Club book is The Great Gatsby.
Yep.
You should read it. Probably not going to do a show on it till sometime early next year because we're busy with stuff. We launched a new show, Geek Nights Presents. You can see that in the YouTube channel. We're talking about Shoujo Kakame Utena
People
and
seem to
anime right
like it.
now.
I don't know fucking why.
People like it, but you guys spread the word around because I'm going to say this. We're going to keep doing it, but we're not going to speed up how often we do it unless it starts getting a lot of views. Because I like doing it, but I don't like doing it enough to not go skiing every weekend. But if you get these videos into the tens of thousands of views,
Yeah, we're looking at only some hundreds of views
if
here.
you get them into the tens of thousands, we will knock this shit out faster than you can imagine.
Yeah, it's only a few hundred views each. That's not really...
So if you are a fan of Geek Nights Presents and want us to keep doing content like that, it is your duty to get other people to watch it. If they do not watch it and the view counts do not go up, we'll keep doing it, just like we keep doing Geek Nights. But we're not gonna go full on. We're not gonna go all out. And we got some other projects in the hopper that are ready to go, but not working on them unless Geek Nights Presents takes off.
You should also go to all the places we are on the internet, like YouTube and Facebook and Twitter, and follow us and join us and subscribe us and all those things.
Yep, G+.
And you should also...
Go to MagFest!
That's right.
MagFest is coming up right after the new year at the Gaylord in DC. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We'll be there all 4 days. We're doing 3 events. We're on 2 panels. We're moderating video game ethics. We are panelists on, I believe, video game genres, and we are presenting Beyond Candyland.
I'll work on that during the week where I don't have any work between Christmas and New Year's.
All right, share that document, and I will also work.
All right.
Yeah, see, we're planning stuff right here live on the air. That's how we do this. Write our panel a few weeks before the con.
one week before. 2?
Granted, we already wrote this panel. We're basically just rewriting it because when we wrote this panel, you might have seen...
There's a lot of new games out now.
More importantly, you might have seen Beyond Candyland. We've come a long way in the last, 5 years of doing lectures, so...
Yeah. At the very least, make the slides look better.
And, very important, Kineticon. Me and Scott, along with a new member of our directorial board, Kristen, run the panels and workshops and special events department for Kineticon, a surprisingly large, as in much larger than you'd expect it to be, massively multi-genre convention in Hartford, Connecticut. Next year, it's going to be July 12th, 13th, and 14th.
The week before PAX Aus.
Yes, and we're going to PAX Aus, so awesome. But... you might think, but Rim, why are you talking about a convention in July? It's December.
You were talking about PAX Prime 2013.
Well, listener, I'm talking about it because panel and workshop and lecture submissions are now live.
Are they actually working properly with a form that doesn't suck?
They appear to be. I'm going to find
Holy
out
shit.
if the email that it's supposed to send out when you submit one that tells you we got it.
We should send in a test submission.
I'm going to put in a real submission because we also do panels, and it's much easier for me to schedule them if I put them in through the same interface as all the people do.
Good idea. I should submit some.
And I'll schedule you at midnight in the annex on
Sure.
Monday. Anyway, so if you would like to do a panel, workshop, lecture, special event, anything at Kineticon, which is a pretty fucking awesome con, we had 230 something panels last year.
We're going to have more this year?
We're going to have less because I'm going to get rid of one of the rooms and have fewer rooms, some of which are bigger.
Hopefully. We'll see how that plan goes. The
We'll see how
the
things
layout
go.
is not set in stone yet. We are fighting
The reason
battle.
I bring this up now is that we are going to be so far ahead of schedule this year that we're going to start scheduling panels and workshops
After MagFest.
at the end of January. Meaning you can keep submitting up until April or something. I forget what the deadline is, but we're going to start scheduling stuff. So if you submit an awesome panel and you submit it in, March, I might have already scheduled all the good slots. I'm not going to bump something I already scheduled for you no matter how good you are.
Unless you're the guest, which you're not.
And we're also going to make the schedule public once we start scheduling things. So you're going to see panels
You're going to
filling in
see it
holes.
constantly changing all the time.
Yeah.
Things moving around, jumping around.
It's going to be awesome. We're Kineticon. If you went to Kineticon last year, there was a huge upstepping of the game. We had so many, it was ridiculous the difference between Kineticon 2011 and 2012. It was ridiculous the difference between Kineticon 2010 and 2011. 2013 is going to be just as different from 2012 as 2012 was from 2011.
Yeah, the convention that improves doesn't just do the same thing over and over again.
Otakon.
Every other con.
Except PAX.
Every other con.
It's the lounge. We can talk about whatever we want here.
Talk about your mom.
Why do you hate the lounge so much?
Why do you love the lounge so much?
I want to
I have a
actually
feeling
change.
this is a male strip lounge. That's why you love it so much.
I would like to make Thursday episodes much more free form and kind of just go for it, rather than having to like force myself to do a news. Just be like, hey, it's Thursday.
And what are you gonna talk about?
Same kind of stuff we're talking about right now.
Okay, whatever.
So I've run into this sort of, I can't necessarily say it's a problem because it doesn't affect me. And in fact, in some ways, it's good for me. But I interact, especially now that we live in New York, with a lot of nerds of various different stripes and a lot of normal people.
And at conventions as well.
At conventions, at places, at meetups, at events. And it amazes me how many people I run into who are, one, not old or like having some sort of like obvious reason why they would not be connected to things.
Mm-hmm.
Two, are really into something pretty specific, like video games
One
cartoons.
or more specific things that are nerdy.
Three, seem to have no idea that any information about said thing exists on the internet.
Or that anyone else in the world likes those
Yes,
things.
or four, has any concept of the fact that there are other people in this thing or in any way related to this thing. And it happens so often that I kind of want to talk about it.
And think about all the people who are in the same situation. We just haven't met them. Or they don't go to conventions, they don't go to meetups, or go on the internet.
They're like under the radar.
Right.
So like a good example is Nerd NYC. We hang out with them. We go to their board game nights. I go to their recesses occasionally. But when I'd first go, like new people would show up. They're like, hey, let's play some board games. But
They're super into board games.
and already there's a hint of desperation.
Right, but it's clear they're somewhat connected because they found Nerd NYC on the internet. They showed up to it. They know about board games. They're here to play them. They maybe even know some of the other people there. Right? And they live in New York.
Yep.
So not completely disconnected. But they show up to Nerd NYC and they just don't know of anything else that exists in the board game world. Maybe they never gone to Board Game Geek. Maybe they never heard of PAX. Maybe they never know any conventions at all.
But it's never just one thing. It's that I'll be talking to some random person, you know, they're really into board games, and they'll tell me some ridiculous rumor. Like, I heard there's a sequel to Settlers coming out called, and they make something up. Like, I'm trying to, Star Trek Settlers is coming out, so I can't use that.
Is that really?
Yeah.
I'm looking that up right now.
So, Star Wars Settlers, I heard it's coming. And that's not coming. That doesn't exist. It's not a thing.
Are you fucking kidding me? Star Trek Catan? What the fuck?
But these, like, they'll bring up a piece of social currency like, hey, have you heard about X?
I think it's out, not coming out.
Yeah, I saw some pictures of people playing it.
What the fuck?
So, Settlers is going to be the monopoly of our generation in terms of being matched up with everything in a superficial manner.
We should just go get Settlers of Canaan and play that and never play any other set.
Yeah. Settlers of your mom.
Yeah.
But so they'll I don't know if they make it up or what, but the kinds of news that I get out of these disconnected nerds is identical to the kind of news I would get out of kids in the days before the internet who would literally just make shit up about video games.
And the thing, first time I ever recognized this problem was at that Anime Next we went to, the only Anime Next we went to. And our friend Ian Levinstein did a Nintendo panel. And it was a filled up room because the Wii was about to come out. It was just before the Wii was coming out. And people are, he talked about all this stuff. And basically everything he said was something that I had read on Kotaku or Joystick or some Engadget or some gaming site. He didn't have any more information than we do. He doesn't work for Nintendo or anything. I think his girlfriend works for Pokemon, but it's not like she knew anything either, right? So, I don't remember if she was there. What doesn't matter. The point is, we've talked about this on the show before, probably in the Anime Next episode, where the people in the audience didn't know this stuff. And they asked him questions, I guess, thinking he knew something or was somehow a Nintendo employee or had special information. All he had was the same information I had reading on the internet. And him, I could have done that panel because I knew the same things he did because I read websites.
Now, before
daily.
you say, isolated phenomena, it's anecdotal evidence, it's an anime well, Yeah, we've been at other conventions doing panels, and the same thing happens to us. Like, remember that we did that panel on Advance Wars, and those kids are like, "So when's the next Advance Wars coming out?" We're like, "We don't know. We don't work for Nintendo." They're like, "How is this part designed?" We don't know. We don't work for Nintendo.
Yeah, we didn't. What do you think this is?
And they kept asking questions like that after our answer continued to be.
Right, but see, those questions are the problem of not knowing who's on stage. The other questions, like, how many controllers will the Wii come with? It's like that. You could just read that fucking shit on Wikipedia or Engadget, or if you've been following the news at all, you would know exactly what comes with it and what the software is going to look like, and all this stuff would not be a mystery or a secret whatsoever.
But it goes deeper than that. Like, a lot of the gamer people I meet have, especially even video game people who like play Xbox games online and listen to like Fast Karate. Like, they're like, video games are my thing. And yet they've never heard of PAX or Penny Arcade. Ever. Never heard. I've met people at gaming cons who've never heard of the concept of a webcomic. I was talking to a dude about PAX. He was like, PAX? I'm like, yeah, the Penny Arcade Expo is this giant video game convention. And he's like, video game conventions? What goes on at those? And I was like, you play video games?
Do you
Meet other people? Have you ever read Penny Arcade? He's like, what's Penny Arcade?
Do you
like,
internet?
I'm like, it's a webcomic.
Do you even read?
And he's like, webcomic? What, you mean like a comic on the internet? And I'm like, yeah. But the fact that you asked that leads me to worry about the direction and future of this conversation. But yet, that dude was the biggest fan of that guy with the glasses in the world. So I think what's happening here is we're not talking about the people who don't know anything and aren't connected to anything.
Well, I mean, because the fact is those people probably do exist in probably a large number. Some guy really fucking loves video games, but just isn't connected. But we don't know that guy. We can't find him.
But these are people who have access to everything.
Right, there's people like they're slightly connected. It's like they've hooked in to one or maybe two communities, but they do not branch from those communities at all. It's like there's this whole internet out there, but they went on the internet the first day and they found, I guess, that guy with the glasses, right? And they put their hooks in, and all they do now is go to that guy with the glasses, and that's it. They don't go
You
anywhere
mean like
else.
the people who go to our forum?
They don't know anything else exists. Right? They don't, but the people on our forum, it's clear that they go elsewhere because they're constantly posting links to other things all over the internet that they're finding and digging from all their other communities, right?
Well, some people in our forum.
That's true, but
You know who you are.
me, yeah. I go to lots of I go to everywhere on the internet, right? So it's like, but there's other people, it's like they just pick one thing and they stay there and they don't even think of looking anywhere else or learning, and they don't search for things and they don't read things, and it's like,
So
what?
think about this. It's interesting.
Yeah, but
now.
you're really interested in tabletop RPGs. Why aren't you going out and looking at every major tabletop RPG site every day of your life? If that is your thing, that is your jam, why are you not eating your jam?
Now, I think what they're doing is they find a site, and remember the first time we saw the guy who did the ninja advice?
Ask a Ninja?
Ask a Ninja. That was the most hilarious shit ever.
For a few episodes.
But even then, we recognized immediately, oh, this is basically the same shtick as Strong Bad and Homestar Runner.
yeah, only
So we enjoyed it a
Ninja.
little bit, but we'd been Zebra Storyteller when we originally found the source of this to remove the Zebra Storyteller situation, where the first time we saw a Strong Bad email, it was the funniest thing in the world. It would be like if, when we encounter one of those peak internet or media experiences, we decided that was the end. Imagine if today, Scott, we just followed Homestar Runner, I guess, and nothing else. And the only internet things we knew about were things that people in the Homestar Runner community linked to. So how is this happening in an age where you have access to everything? I mean, we lived through the era when porn would just appear whether you wanted to see it or not on a computer. We lived through the era of pop-up ads coming and going. I mean, I know what an X10 camera is. With all this information, how are there people who will sort of abdicate all media filtration to one entity, but they don't even relegate it to like an aggregator? Like, it's not, these people aren't like, I just go to FARC and that's all my news. They relegate it to the community around something like that. Like they'll only learn about internet things from the forum about that guy with the glasses. How do you get to be that person?
I think maybe, on one hand, right, we sort of have a problem where we internet so much that we need more novelty. And what is it, the serotonin?
The
or
serotonin
dopamine?
thing?
Is it dopamine or serotonin?
I think it's serotonin.
They're the brain chemicals that make you feel good. We need all those, right? And we are pretty much dulled on those because we've been pounding our brains with them for, forever.
We get the shakes if we don't have our fix of novelty.
Exactly. So if I go to one internet community, I freaking drain that motherfucker the same way that, a frat guy empties the keg all on his own. And he's like, he's not even drunk. He's like, where's some more?
Now, I'm better than I was in RIT when I had jobs where I didn't do anything.
Yeah, I'm much better. But the point is,
I'd sit there reading FARC, and I considered paying for Total FARC or or going through the initiation to join Ultra FARC just to get more novelty.
the point is I go to Reddit and it's all purple links. So I go to our forum and there's no new posts. So I'll go to Twitter and there's no new posts. And I'll go, right? So I keep going. I'm like, oh, I've read everything and all the things. I'm going to go check out Y Combinator. I'm going to go check out Google News. I'm going to go, and eventually I circle around and I got a lot of I go to Boing Boing and I just keep going to places, more and more places to find more and more new things. And it takes a while before I can circle around to the beginning again.
But think of this. Take the big aggregators. If you follow even one of those, you'll get like 80% of the stuff. Like if you follow like Kotaku, you'll know the Penny Arcade Expo exists.
Right. The other thing that I do is when I hit one of these places, right, I fucking branch. It's like if I hit, Boing Boing and there's like one post and it's about something, I can probably find like 3 related YouTube videos and 2 Wikipedia articles and something and 2 other things that link from that, so I can fully absorb all the information related to that post to get it in its fullness. Right, and that's where things of the day and news has come from.
But even some people in our forum are talking about how, like on Reddit, people will repost content into Reddit because they know that the people in Reddit won't even bother clicking on the link to go read something somewhere else in many cases.
I don't get it.
Or if they follow a link, it seems like the people who are disconnected will literally do the opposite of what you said. They'll follow a link to an endpoint, a page. Whatever that page is as far as they will ever go in following further links.
It's like I'm desperate to find new shit, so I'll follow links to the fucking dead end of...
And it leads to some interesting sort of things. Like if you go to any random internet forum community, you'll see the same set of 15 threads of people asking these kind of basic life questions and getting different answers depending on whatever community they're in.
That's the one thing I notice all the time, right? Is let's say you have, I don't know, let's try...
Here's an example.
So you go to the Minecraft forums, right? Because it's like every freaking forum in the world has a Minecraft thread, right? But there's only one Minecraft community. So you go to the Minecraft community, and what thread are you going to see there? Some guy saying, hey guys, let's talk about tabletop RPGs. And all the people who are playing Minecraft in the Minecraft community or hardcore Minecraft people who also like tabletop RPGs will post in that thread, as opposed to, in an off-topic area, as opposed to also opening up in a new tab some sort of tabletop RPG community. It's like they can only be in one community for some reason, and they're going to anything that they care about in their lives, because most people, I hope, care about more than one thing and not just Silver Age Spider-Man, but they don't want to be in more than one community. So anything else they care about in their lives, they will post about in that forum that they're in.
Now, this is a problem.
As opposed to getting more forums.
This is a problem for a separate reason, that I've found that people who are in those communities are also extremely xenophobic when it comes to information coming in that is not from one of them. Like, I don't really post on Reddit that much, but once I posted a link to a relevant video on this particular subreddit that was about mechanism design in RPGs. Like there's people talking about how role-playing games can guide players. So I posted a link to our video on the lecture about just that. And it got downvoted to all fuck, not because it was self-promotion, because I posted it there, but had not engaged sufficiently with the conversation in the community outside of that thread beforehand.
I noticed that sort of thing happens when there's it's depends on the size of the community for that kind of behavior, right? Because if you, and it also, right? Because you look at, say, a big community, there was a thing going down, in the hockey Reddit yesterday where people were voting up these sort of like pictures of ice girls because there's nothing else to post. And I was downvoting all of them, right? Because it's like, I don't want, not that they're not hot, but that's not appropriate for something that's supposed to be about hockey. Put that in the, the hot girls subreddit or something, take that out of here.
Yep.
And like there was, if you look vote wise, there are a lot of people out there who vote and never comment. And there's a lot of people in that subreddit. So this thing had a lot of upvotes and it was up there. But if you looked at the comments, there were some people who were like, this is good. You guys should keep it up. But most of the comments were like, yeah, let's get this stuff out of here. The people who are more, depending on their level of involvement.
Based on statistics from our own forum, it appears that the vast majority of people who go to our forum lurk, never post, but read it religiously.
Yeah, don't do that. You should be, if you want to be a modern, connected person who's awesome, you need to post and create and get involved in all the places.
So what I was going to get at here is that I only engage in one forum community. Nerd NYC, I post like once a month to say I will or will not attend this event.
I don't even do that.
I otherwise don't post. And every time I log in, there's like 1 million PMs for me. And I'm like, really? You can't find me on the rest of the internet? I don't post content anywhere except into any forum or community except my own Geek Nights community.
Well, I mean, no, if you're making, you don't post content, right? But
or comments or anything. But the majority of my stuff like that, I post publicly to things like Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where all my sort of comments are and all my things like that are.
Yeah. The point is,
you're
still
how many forums
involved
do you
in
post in on a regular basis.
The point is, you're still involved in posting things on the internet and communicating with people and getting together with people. And at least some places, it's weird if you just read things on the internet and you never create anything or share anything or say anything or it's like, come on. But I was saying about the sizes of the community, right? When a community is smaller, right? Though that vocal group, the group that's really into it is mostly going to control things, especially if there's some sort of voting mechanism, right? So in your example of posting our video, it was downvoted in probably a smaller subreddit where those people who had those sort of community ideas of who are you here will vote you down. If you had been in a larger subreddit,
Faceless
right,
mob.
The faceless mob who doesn't care about or even know about those things because they're not in the community really, they're just reading in content, would vote things up or down based on whether they liked it or not. So in those cases, you get like a fistful of downvotes from the people who are way into it and a mountain of upvotes just because it's content that they like. They see a JPEG, they go ha ha ha, and they click up, right? And all these people who are into it are the only people who are going to bother to look at who posted the JPEG, who they are, and think about other reasons into their voting as opposed to just quickly voting,
An example of all this stuff that I ran into recently at work, right? I'm trying to fix the AC in this like kind of isolated server room. So at one point, just to make sure that what I had decided to do was correct, I Googled for something. I'll Google for it right now, and hopefully the same thing will happen.
A lot of people just don't fucking Google
So
shit.
I need to know a thing. So let's see. Air condition. Sealed room. Sealed room. All right. Link number 1. A THC forum community for growing marijuana.
Okay.
Link number 2. A separate marijuana growing community.
I guess
3. A third completely independent marijuana every link on the front page.
I guess people
is
who grow weed probably need air conditioned sealed rooms.
But I'm not really amazed at the fact that is every link. When I search for this thing, I'm amazed that every one of these links goes to a completely separate marijuana community.
Now, I'm not saying, right, I agree, I see where you're going, but there shouldn't be just one weed community for the whole world.
But what I'm saying is I see this on the internet everywhere that, like RPGs, there's like 10 or 15 forums, let's say, that are all about indie tabletop RPGs. And every one of them has the same 11 threads.
Mm-hmm.
And every one of them has the same shit answers in those 11 threads.
Mm-hmm. All from different people.
Yeah. And if you...
None of those people had bothered to Google their question to find the thread on one of the other forums before asking it on their forum.
Into a lot of these forums, The answers are straight up wrong. None of the people in these communities know anything about air conditioning. Yet they all give these answers and ask these crazy, ridiculous questions that it's like they don't understand basic physics. Right. One guy's like, yeah, you could just get one of those portable air conditioners, disconnect the hoses, the tubes that vent the air out to the exhaust, and just put it in the room.
No, you can't.
No, that'll heat the room up, you pig fucker.
What the fuck is wrong with you? But anyway, this is a problem that Stack Overflow and Stack Exchange has tried to solve with the question and answer thing specifically.
But the people who have this problem the most never go to those sites.
Exactly. So those sites are really good because number one, if you go to them, you're good, right? And they have communities that form around them as well.
Oh my God!
But they've done a very clever thing in that every Stack Exchange site has a meta. So all of that community bullshit is separated out from the actual question and answer part that everyone sees into a backlot where you have to specifically engage there. So it's sort of like a little segregation, and it works really well. The main problem with that is, if you're a Googler, you're someone who has the reflex to Google something, and you Google a question and it exists on a Stack Exchange site, you will find it as in a top Google result, which is really good also.
But these people's first instinct seems to be go to the, in the real world,
yeah,
be like, I'm going to go to the local bar that I hang out at all the time and ask my friends.
Exactly. Some guy who's really into weed, that's his number one thing, is in that weed forum, that big popular one that you just found, right? And he wants to ask a question about Minecraft. He doesn't go to the Minecraft community, doesn't find the Minecraft Stack Exchange, doesn't Google it. He goes to his forum with all his weed friends and says, hey guys, anyone play Minecraft? Anyone know the recipe to build a diamond pick? I saw this guy had one, yo. And it's like, dude, you didn't even need to ask that. And not only did you not need to ask that, you could have Googled it and find it out in 2 seconds. You asked it in a weed forum. Even though that's your place.
Okay, so
with your pals.
One of these is not a weed forum. It's the Anand Tech Hardware and Technology Forum.
Okay.
So in the sub forum under Hardware and Technology, there is the Highly Technical Forum. And the post here, I'm going to read it in its entirety. This is in the Highly Technical Forum.
Does it say put the air conditioner in the middle of the room with the hoses?
How does sealed air conditioned room get oxygen so we not suffocate? Hi all. I always wonder how hotel rooms get oxygen in the rooms that people don't suffocated. They sealed to doors and windows. The air conditioning in there does not have intake
yes,
pipe
it's air. It's
from
a fucking
outside in like first time window unit that have option. You can turn fresh air or recycle.
What hotel
air.
is he staying in with bulkhead fucking doors?
Like car air condition, do those air condition regenerate oxygen? I hope some engineer can come in and provide answer. Thank you. And the rest of the thread is a big debate about this.
What the fuck?
So, I
mean, look at our forum, for example, right? We're technology people. We talk about technology, but there's a thread in our forum where people ask for like technology help with their computer doesn't work. It's like, get that shit the fuck out of here, right? It's like, come on, go. The answer is elsewhere on the internet. This is not the place. We talk about a lot of different stuff on our forum because we cover a lot of topics, and you shouldn't just talk about Geek Nights there. That would be dumb.
And weird.
But a lot of stuff like that is sort of like, don't you know how to internet? There's more websites than just this one, and they're going to, even if I could answer you, and I probably could, or I could help you, you will get much better help and much better answers if you go to fucking Stack Overflow or something, right?
So here's what I think is going on. These people, for whatever reason, there is something that causes certain people, and it's not just a generational thing, because it's people who are our age and younger, there's like a subset of those people who just don't connect to things on the internet, and there's a subset of people who do. We noticed this when we were at RIT Anime, but we didn't realize the importance of it, because back then we ran the anime club. And it was the biggest club on campus. It was huge, and we had crazy like posters all over campus every week. These big dance parties and social nights and all this bullshit. And at the end of one school year, we met someone who was like, "Oh my god, you guys are into anime? Man, I wish there were other people in the school who are into anime than just us." And we were like, Anime Club's the biggest club on campus.
Did you not notice the posters we hang up everywhere in the entire school every week?
And he was like, how was I supposed to know there was an anime club? How would I?
Did you even think to type in like RIT anime into Google? Did you even think to look at the signs on the wall all over the fucking school?
When I told that dude.
Did you read any of the documentation that the school gave you about clubs?
That guy didn't know fan subs existed.
Yeah, I didn't either when I got to R18.
but he's super into anime.
Yep.
So I think there's just a subset of people who don't connect, regardless of internet or whatever. But because of that was in 2002 or that was like a decade ago that we ran into that situation. Because from that guy, the e-board, we started to recognize, especially when we started really going to anime conventions, that there are people who went to Otakon, the biggest anime con, who didn't know anime conventions were a thing. They thought Otakon was the only one, and they didn't think of it as an anime convention. They thought of it as an Otakon. And when at Otakon one time, I was like to these people, yeah, you guys ever go to Katsucon? They're like, what's that? I'm like, it's another anime con. It's, in DC, the next city over.
It's not far away.
And they were like, there's more of these?
Yeah, they have
What?
a fucking table in the dealer's room. Did you not see them sitting there with their multi-TV display saying, hey guys, come to our other convention? As you were right there in the middle of the fucking dealer's room. They were there yelling at you. How did you miss them?
There are some people who, for whatever reason, don't connect. In the decade since then, when we identified this, we used to call them off-the-radar anime fans. People who are super into anime, didn't know there were other people who were into anime, didn't know there were conventions, didn't know there were fan subs, had no idea, completely disconnected, that we're seeing a huge divergence between everything that has anything on the internet, which is everything at this point, has two communities. The connected community on the internet and then the balkanized community that's 100 identical tiny communities. While they might have different local color, they're effectively identical in that they all have the same 11 threads or the same 11 conversations or whatever. But all those balkanized ones together are basically disappearing from the world to people like me and Scott. Those people don't exist. And we're diverging further and further and further.
I think there's one other factor here. It's a potential factor. I have no evidence for it, right? I think that, we've talked to a lot of people. Like, for example, I was doing an Artist Alley table at an Otakon one year.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, hey, we do a podcast. And this girl basically said she didn't have a computer and she kept walking. And I was like, what the fuck? And they're into something. Maybe they're into, but their computer skills are just low. So even though they're into a thing, they just don't have the technology skills to be connected. And if they figure one thing out, it's like they're never going to figure out anything else, right? Maybe they figure out how to get an email newsletter for like their model train friends.
A lot of these people that I meet are super internety or 4chan-y or something. They
Which
still
is why,
just don't.
Right. There's another thing I think that happens. I think that some of these people they just are not good at reading. Their reading skills, even if their internet skills are high, they know how to use internets, their reading skills are low. They cannot, I can blaze through so many web pages so fast. I can read all the Kotakus, all the gaming blogs, all the anime blogs in 15 minutes. It doesn't take, I do it multiple times a day over and over and over again, right? I see some people, it would take them a while to read a day's worth of Kotaku and quickly get all that gaming information and hold on to it long enough to matter. So if you don't have the high reading skills, it takes you so long to absorb information. Even if you were in all these communities, it's like the amount of time it would take you to catch up on all those threads. And especially if you're not checking often, imagine if you read our forum once every 2 days, right? There are so many new posts once every 2 days. You open it up, there's a zillion new unread things. How long would it take you to sit there and read through all of them and get all the information out of them? And doing it all at once is sort of, but doing it a little bit at a time, reloading 3 or 4 times a day, 2 or 3 posts at a time, you can actually absorb all these things. Now, and if you aren't able to do that, then even if you're in the communities, even if you have technical skills, it becomes daunting or impossible to absorb all the information unless that's what you do. That's what I do. I have a mobile phone and I'm sitting at a computer most of the day, every day, constantly absorbing information most of the hours other than Geek Nights. And then when I get home from Geek Nights, it's weird because there's a double pile of information. I'm like, whoa.
A sealed room doesn't have enough oxygen. Modern buildings are so well sealed that CO2 levels over the course of the night can affect your brain.
Really?
For a single person to get ventilation, a window has to be cracked 1 inch. Add an additional inch for each additional person in the room. The only reason no one realizes this is because we don't have CO2 detectors in our houses. And he has a link at the bottom. It's been proving that the concept of a living wage is a liberal fantasy.
Uh-huh.
Throckmorton,
Sure.
Houston, Texas,
Nice.
posted in 2007.
And guys like that-
He has posted 15,289 times in this forum.
And probably 0 times in any other forum anywhere else ever.
I can't look at more details about him without logging into the Anantech forum.
That guy just lives at Antec. That's his thing.
He probably has nothing else. I'm trying to Google him.
You know?
This is a case study right now.
Yeah, I mean, we're just guessing a lot about
Throckmorton.
this, but I really, really, really want to
give
find
up.
some way to research and investigate and just find these people and figure out how they work.
I think there's
and
I think
because
there's a much more core level.
because I want the world to be connected. There's people out there who like the same things I like, and we could be best friends, but they're, for whatever reason, not connected people. And they could become connected people because I wasn't always connected. I lived in an era when connecting like that wasn't even possible.
I was always connected. I had BBSs from a very early age.
Yeah,
I was-
how early? Elementary school, middle school? There
Uh,
wasn't any connection.
middle school.
High school, there was not connections until like middle
Dude,
school.
middle school, I was on BBSs.
Yeah, that was the time when we could connect. So up until then, connecting was not possible.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I see other people who are much older than me who weren't connected, but now are very connected, right? So they were.
So there might be something more fundamental. One thing I've noticed among the people who just don't connect stuff and don't ever seem to know anything about their things is that they're extremely unmotivated. And they might think, like if you were talking to one of those people, that that's not true. But in my conversations with them, even if they're super smart, super cool,
But they'll be super excited when you tell them the thing they don't know that they should know.
but then they're immediately disinterested in any further details.
Maybe.
Like,
Sometimes.
oh, the Penny Arcade Expo is a gaming convention. Oh, really? Oh my God, gaming conventions. That sounds so awesome. I wish I could go to one. And if you say any more details about PAX, they don't give a shit. And it seems that there's a trend of when I talk to a person who's disconnected like this, they very quickly lose interest in things. So maybe it has to do with attention span or motivation.
That is one thing, because I know I have this problem, right? Where when I explain something, I explain every fucking detail. Because
Sometimes to an annoying fault because you're explaining rules that don't matter to a game.
But if someone's explaining something to me, it's a golden rule. I want to hear all those fucking details. You can't leave shit out, because if you leave it out, I'm gonna grill you. I'm gonna be like, hey, wait a minute.
Like
What is-
like when Pete tried to tell you the Epic of Beowulf.
Exactly.
So wait, what was Beowulf doing with these guys?
Yeah.
What?
Exactly.
Which king? Why didn't you just kill the king?
That's why. It's the same thing. When I'm on the internet, there's no one to ask. I click on all the links and read all the Wikipedias because I got to know all the inside bits. Even if I forget them, I look them up and I remember at least some of them vaguely. And you know, if I ever come back to that, I'll come back to that, you know? And that's, just keep, it's like you can't remember lots of things. So just remember how to find things with Google and just keep refreshing the brain constantly, reading and looking and reading and looking all the time.
Now, I'm going to say something that's almost a value judgment here.
And this is why I always tell people I'm not smart. I just read lots of Wikipedia
Yeah.
and repeat what I read.
What was that XKCD? It's like the realization
And then people think I'm smart.
that you and another person are just quoting the Wikipedia article you both recently read back and forth at each other.
That's exactly my life.
So, about to make kind of a value judgment, so I want to qualify this.
I value judge away.
There are many people who don't appear to be connected, but you simply wouldn't recognize it because the things they're connected to, like their connections don't overlap with yours.
That's true.
Like I know a lot of people who are super tumblers and they have like this crazy network in that whole area.
But I don't tumble that much.
Yeah, but what I found is that when I talk to someone like that, with whom I have, let's say, very little, if any, shared interests, it doesn't matter. We still communicate on a pretty high level because they're connected and I'm connected. So it's obvious that they're a connected person, even if I cannot see any of their connections. Meanwhile, the people I meet, even though I have a huge overlap in interests, who are not connected, it is obvious they're not connected because I can't find, if I talk to the connected person who I don't have anything in common with, like I'll find all the connections like around the back of their head while we talk.
Yeah, it's like you read these Tumblrs and I read these Twitters, but there's going to be funny JPEGs that show up on both or Wikipedias that we both link to.
Or
So
they'll
it's like
cite something. Like they'll cite like, oh, I read an article about X and I know suddenly about this whole branch that they've been exploring on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
The people who aren't connected, like the under the radar gamer dudes or
even
under
if
the
they
radar anime
love,
girls.
even if they love games, RPGs, and anime and comics, they have everything in common with us, right?
There'll be no shared citations. They won't reference external things when I talk to them. They only ever reference their own anecdotes.
Yeah,
The people who are unconnected never say to me, oh, I just read an article about X. They say, I just saw or did X. I just played X. Never, I read a review about X.
Whenever you talk to someone who you've never met before, right? Most of the conversation is my friend this, I saw this, I read this, right? And it's never, what I did, I sit around reading things all day. What did I do?
I think you can tell how connected someone is by tracking. This is going back to RIT when I took those communications classes. One thing we did, we diagrammed conversations to figure out social dynamics. So you'd listen to or you'd watch a video of like a board meeting, and you'd set up a metric for, depending on the kinds of sentences people said, you could objectively determine things about who's in charge, who's the power broker, who's the beta, who's the omega, all those kinds of things. I think there's a similar thing going on with these unconnected people. I think there's a correlation, like people who make fewer citations to things that are not anecdotal tend to be also the people who are very unconnected and unmotivated.
It's possible.
There's probably a much more subtle...
really, it's a thing. We can tell it exists, and we really can't tell why.
And
because
for 10 years.
They're disconnected. It's like we know that there's a tribe of people in the jungle, and we know that they're undiscovered tribe in this jungle, and we know that they're there because we met someone who met them, and one of them escaped once, and we talked to them a little bit, but we couldn't communicate so well because we didn't have a language in common.
I have a better
but we
analogy.
know they're there, and let's guess about how they're out there.
I have
surviving.
a much better analogy.
Okay,
so we were, we came out of the jungle into the big old wide world and connected with all the people who were out there. And then 10 years ago at the RIT Anime Club, we found an isolated tribe, the under-the-radar anime fans. We're like, whoa, look at these people. Yeah, we studied them, and then we forgot about it. And then in our travels around the world for the next 10 years, we kept running into identical tribes in different places that were not connected to each other. 1,000 tribes that are all the same. None of them have any actual connection to each other. So it's connected on some human level. Meanwhile, we're connected, all of us connected people, on this technology level. So the human people have like a base human connection. They start from the same point, but then they just don't go out beyond that for whatever reason. I don't really understand it, but this is something that we in the crew talk about a lot. So I figured we'd talk about it on the show.
I guess there's one thing we can do, right? Is that if you're listening to this, you're at least connected in some way. You're listening to a podcast. That's pretty good. That's
Find
a good start.
someone who's not.
Right. There are things that you like in this world, right? So and if you're not super connected like we are, here's our advice for you. Number one, you need to Google and find multiple places that are that are into the things that you're into, and check them a lot and really get attached and find people all over the world and near you and around you who are into the same things, so that you can stay up to date and learn about these things that you're into, really follow them, and you will enjoy these things so much more, in a deep way, because you're nerdy like that. And also, you should read a lot. All right, don't be sitting there and just being a bum, not doing anything. You should be constantly, when you're sitting there doing nothing, you should instead be talking to people or reading and learning about the things that you're into, or doing the things that you're into. All right. And it's not like it's not like, oh, I spend all my day playing video games and I never have time to read gaming blogs. No, it's like, no, you can sort of do both at the same time. I'll be like playing NS, and in between a round, open up a little browser, read an article, back to the NS. You got to be fast. You got to try. Trying is good.
This has been Geek Nights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geek Nights is not one, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geek Nights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geek Nights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.